Life moves fast, but here we hit pause. Welcome to Foxtails, a place where chaos fades and stories take over. Join us as we explore books that transport us from fantastical realms, heart pounding mysteries, swoon worthy romance, to stories that just make us feel those real life connections. I'm Jess.
And I'm Danny.
It's time to grab your favorite drink, find a quiet spot, let's turn the page and disappear for a while.
Welcome back, everyone. We are so excited that you're joining us for our next book, Remarkably Bright Creatures by Shelby Van Pelt. Before we get started, this is your one and only spoiler alert. We're going to be covering the book beginning to end, in between everything. So if you haven't read it, or if you have read it and you still want to listen to us, great. But if you're not wanting the spoilers, now's the time to maybe hit pause, come back and join us after you've either watched the movie or read the book. And we're also very happy because this book just had a movie release on Netflix.
Yay!
I'm really excited to get talking about it, and I think it's going to be a good compare-contrast kind of thing.
I agree.
It seems fitting that Remarkably Bright Creatures is about some sea life. How do you feel about aquariums?
I am torn. And the reason being is because I am 100% for conservation aquariums / zoos. And you can actually go and research which ones are like conservation, like actually helping animals, versus the ones that are just putting animals on display. And an example of this, like thinking of aquariums specifically, is Monterey Bay Aquarium. They are a conservation aquarium. It's a beautiful aquarium. If you have not been there and you happen to be in Monterey, California, it is a beautiful aquarium. But they really do circle around conservation and they really care about animals. And I remember one time when I was there, because, we have Marcellus the octopus here. And I remember one time I was there and they have an octopus as well there at Monterey Bay. And somebody was trying to take a picture of it with their flash on. And one of the docents was like, yo, stop. This is not okay for the octopus. It's going to scare it. It's like a solitary creature. It needs the dark. And like I really respected the fact that they stepped in and like really showed that they cared about the animals. Versus another aquarium that I've been to, and I'm not going to put the name because I don't want anybody hating on them, but also had an octopus, but it was on display in the way of you walk into the aquarium and there's no wall. It's like this circle in the middle of the aquarium. The octopus has no place to hide. And kind of like the beginning of the movie where those kids' hands are all over. That's exactly what it was. And like, of course, I wanted to see the octopus because they're amazing creatures. But at the same time, I was so angry because they did not respect its need for privacy, for space. And so this is where I get.
Like they didn't give it a good environment for its natural habitat.
Right, exactly. And so, yes, I love aquariums because I love animals, but at the same time, you also have to show that respect for animals.
I'm going to circle back. So, Monterey, I've been as well. And I have to tell you, when we went, there was a lot of displays being, I think, just kind of renovated, redone.
Mhm.
So, when we went, it was a lot of screens, not actual fish. And we were
Oh,
extremely disappointed when we went. There wasn't a lot of sea life on display when we were there. And we were like, wow, this kind of sucks. And I remember going as a kid and really loving it. But when we
right.
went back as adults, with me and Jeff, we were like, this is extremely disappointing. So it may have changed. Maybe it was just the time that we went. It wasn't that great, but a lot of people love it. I mean, Cannery Row is amazing. If you haven't
Right.
made a trip out there, for all of those in different states listening to this, in California, Monterey Bay and Cannery Row. Cannery Row is just beautiful just to go. And there's a lot of things to do around there. So I would support them just because, like you said, they're conservation. And we want to help animals. We don't want to hurt them.
Yes.
But I have to say, my favorite aquarium I've ever been to is the Georgia Aquarium. And I don't know if
That
that's
is beautiful.
I don't know if that's a conservation aquarium or not,
It
but
is.
okay, well, even better. But I went there and oh my gosh, they talk about space in there. They have absolutely like different rooms for all different types of water life. Like I don't know, it's really well done, and I feel like it's very clean. You could tell the animals are well cared for. It's by far the best aquarium I've ever been to.
I agree. Georgia Aquarium and also Chattanooga Aquarium,
Oh,
beautiful. They are
okay.
beautiful, beautiful aquariums. The one issue I have with Georgia Aquarium is the dolphin show, and
Hmm.
I have SeaWorld, this is 100% directed towards you. I have problems when you are putting animals in a circus-like production. Like
Mm,
that is not their job. The animals should
mhm,
not have jobs like
mhm,
that.
mhm,
And they do the a big I would not go to the dolphin show because I'm not gonna support that,
mhm.
and maybe they have a really good tank somewhere else, but putting animals on display as if they work for you, I have a major issue with that. Also, if you have not seen Blackfish, the documentary,
Oh man.
watch it.
If you watch,
Watch it.
okay, we went to San Diego shortly after we watched Blackfish. It was just a timing kind of thing. And obviously San Diego has SeaWorld. We were like, we are absolutely not going to SeaWorld after
Mhm.
watching Blackfish. If you watch that movie, you'll totally be just
Yes.
absolutely turned off of SeaWorld. And they're probably going to come at us for this. Oh, not a good way to gain followers. But truly, like, I don't know how SeaWorld is still in business after Blackfish. I don't get it, but whatever. I guess people just don't care.
I think that's it.
Or
People
maybe
don't
we
care.
care too much. That's, I don't
You
know.
should, they're animals. Animals are people too.
That's true. Well, okay, real quick. What is your favorite thing to go and see when you go to an aquarium?
Well, it depends on what aquarium you're at.
Well,
If
just,
you're at
you can only
Monterey,
pick, uh-huh,
okay,
okay.
give me a minute.
Okay.
Okay.
Jeez.
If you're at Monterey, you have to see the otters because it's part of the natural habitat there.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
If you are in Georgia, it is the whale sharks. They are
Oh,
beautiful.
yeah.
I could
Yeah.
sit in front of um, that room, where it's
Mm-hmm.
just like wall-to-wall fish. I could sit
Yes.
there for hours.
Yes.
If I'm in Chattanooga, it's all river fish, and I love the gar, because they are so interesting looking.
Yes.
What about
Okay.
you?
For me, it's jellyfish. And I especially loved, we'll get there, but in the Netflix adaptation of this book, Remarkably Bright Creatures, they do a few shots of them looking at a
Yes.
wall of jellyfish. And I think those are the most like just graceful, calming, like something you would want on your computer screen at work because it's just very relaxing to watch. But they always just seem so light and just like free. I don't know. I love jellyfish. And so those are my favorite. I always have to go see the jellyfish when we go to an aquarium. But
They're beautiful, and we could talk about this for hours
I know. We better wrap it
because
up.
yes, this is in our wheelhouse 1,000,000%. If you want more of this, just let us know, and we can have a talk on the side.
Oh yeah,
Let's talk about the
absolutely.
book.
Yes, and some characters. We have important characters here.
Yes, we open with Marcellus, who
Woohoo!
is a giant Pacific octopus who has been in captivity since he was a wee little octopus. And he estimates himself that he has around 160 days left to live. And he is really living life to his fullest in the book and in the movie. I love his character. I also
Yes.
thought it was really cool how he is the only character in the entire book that's written in the first person.
Yes, I noticed that, and it's very noticeable in the Netflix adaptation as well.
Mhm.
But also, I love how smart they made Marcellus, and he's kind of condescending towards humans. So I love that. I love that aspect of him. Like he thinks he's like the smartest of them all, and I love that.
You know what's really cool is I was watching something about the author Shelby Pelt, and she based this off of a actual real life thing that happened in Seattle,
Huh?
where an octopus was trying to escape its habitat from the top, and
Wow.
that took her down, like, this rabbit hole of, like, learning of octopus
Hmm.
and, created this amazing book, so awesome.
Wow. That's kind of cool. That's a little nugget there for you people. Our next character is Tova, and she's an older lady who cleans the aquarium. And this aquarium is based in Washington. And she keeps kind of a close eye on Marcellus, who often, as we just mentioned, likes to escape his habitat. And she is also a widow who lost her husband fairly recently. And we also learned that her son died many years ago when he was what I believe to be a teenager. Lastly, our next, there's multiple characters, but these are the main ones. Next is Cameron, and he's a 30-year-old man who lives in California who is raised by his aunt, Jean. Do you say Jean or Jeannie?
Jean.
Jean? Okay, that's how I would say it too. Because his mom abandoned him. He lives with his girlfriend, and he currently has some difficulty holding down a job.
This does differ than the movie.
Yes.
So if you only watch the movie, it is a little bit different. So what we said was based on the book. In the movie, we find him on his road trip in his van. That's what starts him off. The book starts off with Marcellus, our incredibly intelligent octopus, who informs us of his time in the aquarium, as well as his realization that his time is limited. He really has no fear. He knows his time limits. I can escape for this amount of time before I need to go back into my water, and is willing to risk everything to take his little adventures into the different tanks around the aquarium, especially when he wants to get like a little snack.
I think that's the best part is that he leaves his tank for snacks because that would 100% be me. You're giving me all this terrible food. I'm gonna go find some good stuff on my own.
I just love how creatures, like sea creatures, just disappear, and they're like, "Oh my god, it's Marcellus. We
Yeah,
gotta we
yeah, I
gotta do
can't.
this again." He reminds me, if you've seen the movie Finding Dory, of the octopus Hank. It seems like how Hank is like this cranky little creature and doesn't want to live in captivity, and Marcellus reminded me of that.
I have to rewatch that. Finding Dory. I literally just watched Finding Nemo this week, so maybe I'll watch
Wait, no,
Finding Dory
for the
next.
first time?
No, no, no. I've watched
Oh,
Finding Dory before,
oh
but I just
god.
can't. It's been so long. I haven't watched it in a while, so I'd have to rewatch it to remember the characters. But I watched Finding Nemo this week because I was getting in the mood for Remarkably Bright Creatures, I guess. So next we meet Tova. She's an older lady who, like we mentioned, she's a widow. And she also found out that her brother Lars just passed away at his retirement center. We learned that Tova doesn't like to drive, so she asked the grocery store owner Ethan to drive her so she can collect her brother's belongings. Well, it doesn't take much convincing because Ethan has a little crush on her.
It's just so cute, and
Yeah, it
in the movie,
is.
it plays out really cutely
It
too.
does. Well,
It
wait for the movie. Just wait
Oh
for
my
the
god,
movie.
sorry.
Well, we also know that Tova is a little lost in life and kind of has trouble finding where she belongs. And she leaves an application for a retirement home because she's just right now trying to figure out what she should do next, especially after, passing away of her brother, her husband. She's just a little lost in life.
I think she has a lot of memories at her house that she really
Hmm.
doesn't want to remember, is the feeling
Yes.
that I get in the book, and she's also, because she's alone, doesn't really know where to go.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think that loneliness is driving a lot of her decisions at this point in the book. And
Yeah,
she's kind of guarded to get to form relationships with new people. And
right.
so she's very independent. And I think she wants to stay that way.
Agree, agree. We also have Cameron, and he is a very lost fellow at the beginning of the book.
Very.
He has just lived a life of, like, unfortunate events, and I wouldn't say he has a hard life, but I would say that he really does have unfortunate things that follow him. His
Hmm.
mom abandoned him when he was young. He does have his aunt who really does truly love and care for him and is willing to do anything for him.
Hmm.
And I think he really doesn't feel a lot of motivation or belonging in life, kind of similar to Tova at this point,
Yes.
is really unsure of where he belongs. And so at the beginning of this book, he gets fired from yet another job. And his girlfriend, as a result, breaks up with him, kicks him out of the house, and he has absolutely no money, no place to live. Of course, he has his aunt's house, who we find out is like a hoarder. And so he doesn't really want to go there. And so his aunt kind of helps him collect some things that he can pawn off. And in the process of this, he runs into a photo album of his mom with a man who we find out based on his like research through the little yearbook is named Simon Brinks. And so he believes that Simon Brinks is probably his dad, and he decides that it's going to be his mission to go on the next flight to Seattle to find his dad and get some money that he deserves.
While he's doing this journey, Cameron's going on this journey, we simultaneously have the story of Tova at the aquarium. And Tova really seems to like her job at the aquarium, even though she's cleaning. And she describes how in the book there's so much detail on even the things that she uses to clean the aquarium. So clearly she's really into this. Cameron, unfortunately, at the same time as he's coming via plane to Washington, because that so happens where Simon Brinks also lives. That's an important factor there. The airline loses his luggage. So yet another unfortunate event for Cameron.
I feel really bad for him at this point.
It's almost a little bit comical because it's just like, what else could go wrong? And so lost his, literally right in the beginning of the book, girlfriend breaks up with him. He has nowhere to stay. He's trying to collect child support from this man, Simon Brinks, who he thinks is his father. And he decides to take a flight because he's just, I don't know, flying off the seat
Why
of
the
his
hell
pants.
not? What else could go wrong?
Yeah, and then he goes on an airline, loses his luggage, and of course, no money to recoup anything. Of course, calls Aunt Jean, and Aunt Jean is always willing to help Cameron in his many adventures in life. And he gets the help from his aunt and a random guy who likes vegetarian sandwiches. And
that was really funny because he spends so much time debating whether or not he should take this vegetarian sandwich.
It's like, dude, you're hungry with no money. Take the sandwich.
Eat the damn sandwich.
He's able to buy, this is quote by Jesse, ramshackle of a camper and heads to Soul Bay. Is it Soul Bay? Soul Bay? Okay, yeah. Soul Bay. And he heads to Soul Bay. And this camper is falling to pieces that he's got. It is an absolute junker. And of course, on the way there, he gets a flat tire. And I mean, nothing else could happen here. Nothing else could go wrong. But he gets his flat tire. And of course, he goes into the store in Soul Bay and he meets Ethan. And Ethan suggests, hey, dude, why don't you apply for the job at the aquarium? Since he knows, of course, that Tova has been injured. Now, to back up a little bit, I know we're kind of going through this quickly, but in Tova's cleaning process, she has a fall, and that's because of Marcellus, and so Tova's been injured, and somebody needs to clean the aquarium. So Ethan's like, hey, I got the perfect job for you. Well, he goes over there and inherits the Marcellus problem that Tova was dealing with.
And Tova is not the type of person who's just going to let some new kid in town do the same level of work that she could do. I think she has a very high standard for what should be done at the aquarium. And so when she finds out that she's been replaced, she goes and kind of spies on him to make sure that Cameron's doing a good job. And during this visit, Marcellus, of course, has escaped, and Cameron is trying to get him back in the enclosure. And of course, Tova steps in and shows him how to care for Marcellus and also how to clean correctly.
I think it's funny that a part of like the job description secretly is getting Marcellus back in his tank every night.
which nobody knows.
Right.
Tova's the only one. The person who owns the aquarium, Terry, doesn't know because I think Tova also knows if he knows, then Marcellus is going to be really locked in the tank, and that's not what he wants in life.
And Terry isn't a bad guy. Let's not
Oh,
paint
he's
Terry to
not.
be. He loves the animals and very much so cares for them. But Terry likes to keep them enclosed where they belong. I
I
mean, we
think he
don't
wants to
want.
keep them safe because
Yes.
it's because I get the impression that he does save animals that are injured. That's how
Yes.
he got Marcellus.
Mm-hmm.
And so he just wants to keep them safe. But for Marcellus, being safe isn't necessarily what he needs in life.
Moving on through this journey that we're going through, Cameron is hunting for his long lost father, Simon Brinks, and of course is unsuccessful in this as well, because that's how his life is. But he does have success in saving some money, and he's, kind of trying to repay his aunt for fronting the money for him to do this adventure to Washington to find his dad. And through the course of all this, Cameron and Tova teaching him the ways of how to clean the aquarium properly, they develop a friendship. And Tova continues to visit the aquarium even though she's not able to work because of her injury. So, Tova is not the really warm, friendly type at first. So she must really like Cameron for her to be going back or see something in him, potential. I don't know.
Which Marcellus sees as well. So, being the incredibly bright creature that he is, he's able to see a connection between Tova and Cameron. But unfortunately, due to the process of evolution, he can't talk. And he can't tell them what he is noticing. So, he has to use his intelligence to kind of display what he is thinking.
Trick them. Some
Yes.
trickery, light trickery, Marcellus. Tova, through this injury and through her applying to this, I'm going to call this like an old folks home. Don't be offended, people out there, but this is what it is. It's an
It
old
is what it
folks home.
is.
And, her application for the old folks home, she decided, you know what? I think it's time to sell my home and move away. Cameron's now here. He's learned the proper way of taking care of Marcellus and the aquarium. So she's
Mhm.
kind of built this confidence that everything's going to be okay if she moves on in life. Well, her friends, the Nitwits, which I think is the
The
most
cutest.
hilarious name for them,
Mhm.
they really don't like the idea of her moving away. But despite all that, they decide to throw her a going away party. At this party, she meets a random guy there who knows her son. And we know from this point in the book that there was some sort of tragedy that happened to her son. And it's not really clear what has happened to him. And this is a small town with a lot of gossip.
Mhm.
So I think Tova just tries to shove that past behind her and doesn't want to, dig it back up. But anyway, this guy knows her son and mentions that there was a lady friend of Tova's late son, Eric. And Tova's like, what? He didn't have a girlfriend. He wasn't seeing anybody, not my son. Her name, big dramatic pause,
Hold your
for
pants.
effect here. Her name is Daphne Cassmore. You've heard that name, right? In this book already. I know you have, because yes, it's Cameron's mom. Honestly, at this point, I'm like, wait, what? I'm starting to make connections and I'm like, this can't be
Mhm.
true. This can't be true.
But, Marcellus sees it, and
Yeah,
he
that's true.
is so clever, and he actually spots a chance to grab Cameron's ID from Terry's office, which I loved. Like, goes in
Yeah.
there, grabs Cameron's ID, and places it somewhere where Tova can find it. So she can make the connection, because at this point, she just knows Cameron by his first name. She doesn't know more beyond that. And during the same period of time, Ethan notices that Cameron's last name is the same as the last name on a bad check he had on his wall. Because in a small town, of course, you keep the bad checks of people who who come into your store.
It's probably
And
like for a whole $15 or something like that.
right, the fact that it's a bad check
You're
that
right.
tells you like how much in the past, right? Okay.
Right.
Anyway, um, Ethan is able to put the pieces together, so he has figured it out. So Marcellus knows. Ethan knows, us, the reader, know what's going on. And he has to try to figure out how to tell Tova. Meanwhile, Simon Brinks calls Cameron back and decides to meet with him. And it turns out in this meeting that Simon is not his dad. We already knew that, but it's really disappointing. Cameron gets super upset and he loses hope. This was his one hope of family, and
And
he
money, to be honest.
correct. Yeah,
So
true.
not
He
just
does still
family,
have
but
that camper van.
money. Yeah.
Cameron gets really upset. He loses hope. He takes the ring, which what he found in his mom's things, and he tosses it in the eel tank and says, "Well, forget it. I'm headed back to California. There's nothing for me here."
Marcellus strikes again because he's out clevered everybody. And he goes into the eel tank to retrieve the ring. Of course, Tova goes back to the aquarium because this is what she does and this is her second home, apparently. And notices that Marcellus is once again out of his cage and helps him. And while she helps him to get back to his habitat, she also sees, oh my goodness, what is that shiny thing in there? It's a ring, but not just any ring. It's her son's ring that she sees. And Tova notices that Marcellus is at his very last stage in life at this point. His journey's out of his journey's escaping. He's struggling each time to get back into his little spot. And she decides to make a move, and that move is to bring him to the ocean so he can live the rest of his life at peace.
I love this part,
I do
and
too.
I just think like he helped her in the best way possible, and I think in return she also helped him live his life, the rest of his life, the exact way he wanted.
Yeah, I think this was a very hard decision for Tova at this point because, you know, Cameron, he leaves angrily and
Mhm.
he doesn't have the intention of coming back to the aquarium. And I don't know that Tova knows this yet because she's kind of waiting for him. He's not there and that kind of thing. And um, I think that Tova does this to make some peace in her life. Everything's going wrong. Might as well give Marcellus what he wants in life. I don't know. This is just a thought.
Right. And Cameron, on his journey back to California, gains a new sense of responsibility. So he's learned something being in Washington and decides to go back and make amends. I think he realizes that he needs to leave instead of just dropping everything and leaving. He needs to close those doors. He needs to finish it off, say his
Mm-hmm.
goodbyes. And when he arrives, we're able to put all the pieces together. We are able to say Cameron's dad is Tova's son. Therefore, Tova is his grandmother. Marcellus knew this all along, but now everybody knows. And Tova decides it's not the best move to go to a retirement home because she has found what she needed, and that is family. And that is what Cameron also found, is something that he's been missing his whole life, is that family. Now he of course he has his aunt, but I think this is a piece that he has been missing his whole life that finally just got put in place. And Marcellus is rejoined with the sea where he belongs.
It is a, I have to say, when I first read this book, and you know how I felt about this, I
Mhm.
was like, man, I thought it was okay. I didn't walk away with the wow factor. It was an all right book for me. But I have to say, when I watched the movie on Netflix, it made me want to reread the book
Oh.
because it added a lot of emotion. Like
Mhm.
Sally Fields did a
Oh,
fabulous job
she's
playing
perfect.
Tova, and she really picked up the kind of cranky character that Tova is, and how I'm going to use like anal about cleaning,
Yeah.
and she really gave Tova some life for me. And I think that that's how Tova was written in the book. I think she
Yeah.
perfectly displayed her character, but I was missing that maybe in my imagination of what was going on.
I loved the book. I remember when you finished the book first and you messaged me and you're like, "I don't know how I feel, but you're gonna love it." And I did love it.
Mhm,
I thought it was a
mhm.
fabulous book. It really brought me back to my love of ocean life and the aquariums and all of those things. And so I loved the book. I thought it was great. Um, the book didn't make me cry. The movie had me bawling.
Okay, when Sally Fields goes and takes Marcellus back to the sea, that wasn't very emotional in the book. It was like, oh, yay, he's free. It was a very happy thing. But you can see the pain of
Yes.
her leaving a friend, like a
Yes.
confidant. And it's Marcellus was more to Tova. And the book does describe that relationship between the two of them. They understand each other at a weird level. They communicate in different ways that, obviously not audibly, but they talk to each other. And in the movie, it shows a real friendship and it's heart wrenching. It is absolutely heart wrenching.
It is, and I finished the movie before you, and I told you, like, I was like, "This thing has got me in tears," which I was not expecting. I watched it before I went to work, and man, did I have to clean myself up before I went because I was a mess, and I did not expect to have that effect on me.
Yeah.
I just figured it would, like, be a really good movie that goes along with the book. I also think that Louis Pullman, who played Cameron, really did take on that character very well. They had perfect casting in the movie.
Hmm.
And if you watched our last episode where we talked about No Exit and how
Terrible.
much I think this was so, so, so well done.
Yes,
I
I
will go
agree.
back and I will watch the movie again just for fun, or if I
Well,
need a crying movie.
after we watched the movie, for those of you non-readers, I'm going to give you my husband Jeff's opinion about these because he's not reading any books, I promise you that. And he loved the movie. He said it was a really good movie. He said it was a very like lighthearted, uplifting, feel good kind of movie. And so he walked away liking the movie. And there was, of course, different things that they did in the movie. And we've left out a lot of details here, people. So please go back and read the book. And the book and movie actually do mirror each other, I think, fairly well.
I do.
There's
Yeah.
I love Ethan's character in the movie and
Yes.
also in the book. But I think Ethan's character, they casted him very well. He fits that perfect. The whole t-shirt thing, if you've read the book, you know how painful it was for Tova to replace that t-shirt. But I like that they added that, just that little tiny detail in the
Mhm.
movie. Another thing that I liked in the movie, but it wasn't in the book, was the scene where Cameron goes and plays his guitar at that bar and Tova takes him. I
Yes.
I think that was such a cute moment for the two of them because she wanted to kind of encourage Cameron in what is his moth sausage or something like that. That's his
Terrible
dance
name.
name. But she wants to somewhat be involved in Cameron's life, and so she goes to this bar, which is one way out of Tova's character, and she watches Cameron play this song, and he does this little tiny performance. And I thought that was a really heartwarming part in the movie that's not in the book, and I thought it was okay to add that scene. I thought it was an okay addition.
I agree. I think the changes that they made were great. It's hard because her grief in the books, it really does center around both her husband and her son,
Mm-hmm.
and they did kind of leave that out of the movie,
Yes.
and there's a lot of parts in the book where she does remember her husband and her husband's role in, like, their house, the building of their house and all of those things that was
Mm-hmm.
left out, but I didn't miss it in the movie, so I think that change was okay.
Another, I I said to Jeff, I said, I hope that the ending of this movie is different in some way than it is in the book. And what I meant by that is in the book, Tova actually sells her home.
Yeah.
And I think that and she does this before Marcellus is able to help her make that connection that Cameron is her grandson. And I think that in the book, she somewhat regrets that decision.
Agree.
And in the movie, they change that to where she keeps the home. And that was the ending I was hoping for in the book. And the movie brought that for me. And I was very, very happy with that alternate ending. And most of the time I would not be okay with any changes from the book at all. But I think that they did great job with making it so it is a happy ending. And it's a happy ending in the book. I don't want to say that it's not, but it's just happy in a different way in the movie.
Agree. I think being at that house, I think it's important for Cameron to be able to be there
Mm-hmm.
with his family that he never had. And
Mm-hmm.
having that home is a piece of that family, which I agree that was a piece from the book that was missing that they did amend inside of the movie.
Yeah. Overall, for me, great movie. I really didn't love the book. I had trouble reading it, to be honest. So I got the audio version and I was able to go through the audio version very quickly. So for me, it was a tough read just because of maybe going from the first person to, the change in speech. I don't know. It wasn't the best book for me to read and go along with, but audio, loved it.
Okay, book score out of 10 for you.
I gotta be honest with you. Probably a 6.
Book score for me, I would have said an 8 out of 10 for book.
Okay. Okay.
Movie score for you.
Movie score, definitely an 8. An 8 or 9.
Out of 10?
Yeah.
I agree.
Yeah.
I agree. It was beautifully done. Characters were amazing. Love it. I hope we see more like this in the future.
Me too. Our next venture that we're going to be going on is we're reading The Housemaid by Frida McFadden. And there is a movie for this. So I'm really excited to do the compare and contrast. We hope you're liking this style a little bit better than the chapter breakdown, but let us know. Maybe you hate it. I don't know. But we're going to go ahead and read The Housemaid by Frida McFadden, watch the movie, come back and join us for our next episode so we can go over everything again. And as we close today's chapter, remember this. Whether you were escaping for comfort, courage, or just a little quiet, books are always waiting for us. So until next time, keep turning those pages and don't forget to follow, like, subscribe, all the things. You can find us on Spotify, YouTube, and Instagram. I'm Danny.
And I'm Jess.
And this is Foxtails.